Hi there guys, welcome to an ownership review of the Ford Fiesta Mark 8 ST. I'm here with the owner today. Let's chat about it and let's talk about how you've kind of got on, everything about like the Fiesta, all the kind of, well, it's not happening anymore, is it? Let's just be honest. They're stopping the Ford Fiesta. They're stopping the Ford Focus. Well, we spoke
to be announced.
Yeah, to be announced.
Ford Focus will be stopping.
And we caught up how many months ago? It was
well, I bought the car in July, and I'm pretty sure it's about August time that we that we reviewed this when I first got it.
Yeah, and that was like, well, the first time I saw it in the mean green, and even here, just waiting, I just like, it puts such a smile on my face. I'm sure it does the same for you.
Everyone just picks it up straight away. There are no green cars on the road, so the green itself is good choice.
So good. And you've just come back from go-karting, and we were just talking out there. This is like, honestly, whenever I went on like a track day in my, well, there's a Mark 7 there, Fiesta ST, I always just felt like it's the perfect car to kind of like test you on the road, and then you can kind of learn it on the track. I don't know what you think when you kind of on the go-kart.
I mean, to be completely honest with you, I started go-karting when I was 10.
Before, yeah.
So I learned everything I know about driving on the go-kart track. Yeah. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing on the road, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm quite a competent driver because of go-karting, being able to control the car in certain situations. Not that I push this car all the time. Yeah. It's just that when you have an open road, you just want to sort of go for it.
And this is the kind of car,
perfect.
This is the car you kind of go for completely. So how many miles have you done in it so far? Let's find out.
I can't remember from your old video. Wow. I'm sure I looked at it the other day. In August, I'm pretty sure I had it on about 1,600 at that point.
Yes.
So we are almost at 6,000 now. 6,000. 6,000 miles.
So you've properly driven it.
Yeah.
I can see you're currently on 40 mpg. That's pretty good.
So yeah, on the long journey I did today, it was about 130 miles there from home, and it's been about, well, it's been about 100 miles here from the track.
Really good.
40 miles to the gallon, yeah, and like the way that the road sort of was happening and the way I had to drive it on that particular road, 40 miles to the gallon is epic.
You kind of take it, it's wet, it's windy, it's cold, everything's kind of against
AC's on as well.
Yeah, you're not going to kind of compromise. And we've just been talking, because I'm in a Fiat 500e electric, and talking about how, yeah, maybe we're not quite there yet with electric, and I'll have reviews and stuff on that to come. But it's like, I'm so surprised that I mean, we kind of felt it was coming, that they're gonna probably stop this. This will be like the last ST probably.
Yeah, will 100% be the last ST. Yeah.
Do you think they'll like rebrand it maybe into like ST electric? They'll do some sort, they'll use that badge, do you think?
Not on the Fiesta, obviously, because that's going to be axed.
It's next year,
I don't know. I don't know what kind of things they'll have planned for the performance range, simply because the only performance cars they've got out in the UK at the moment are the new ones, are the Fiesta and the Focus.
Yeah. And
when you looked at that Ford UK post where they were talking about all the electric cars, Focus wasn't on there. So whether they're going to bring out a ST, or a Puma as well, obviously Puma, whether they bring out a Puma ST electric or something like that, I don't know. It's just this, I think the Focus and the Fiesta don't have the platform to be able to store a battery big enough to be able to do the range, and to be able to produce enough power to be able to propel it along. Because it's, at the end of the day, these cars, through like safety and all that kind of stuff, are quite heavy, in my opinion, compared to what they used to be.
Yeah,
I think this is 1,300 kg.
Yeah, and that was, I think that was about 1,100.
But that's obviously because it's got a battery in it.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry, I was talking about the Mark 7.
Oh, you're talking about the Mark 7. Sorry.
Yeah.
How much? Do you know how much Fiat weighs?
I think it's going to be more than this. I think you're looking at 1,400 or so. But because it's such a tiny little car, but and there's not much in it. It hasn't got a big battery. It's 42 kilowatts. But it felt like, it's quite interesting actually, because it's such like, all batteries lower down. It actually drives really nice.
Of course, like, centre of gravity's lower.
And it's like, I like it. I think just a bit of the infrastructure. Like, you've just filled up your car with fuel. How long? Like 5 minutes it took you?
Oh no, I didn't fill up with fuel. Basically, I got a puncture on the way up there. So what happened was that it was the TPMS came up, basically saying it was low. And most people will panic about that, because they'll think, shit, I've got to pull over and all this kind of stuff. But what you just have to do is look at the tyre pressure. If it drops down, more, then you do have a quick puncture.
Yep.
But when I was looking at it, the whole way up there, it's been about it should be about 2.5 bar, the front
so you're
tyres.
kind of watching
They're
it, is it?
2.1 and it stayed like that. So I know that it's been lowering itself down over the last couple of weeks. It's only just got to a point where the system's gone right. It's too low for the rest of the car. So I've just gone and filled it up. When I get to work tomorrow, I'll fix the puncture.
Right, okay, so you've topped up. Okay, that's quite good. So these are you're on 18s, is it?
Yeah,
this one?
18s,
So
yeah,
this is
yeah,
like
yeah.
so we'll start from the top, I guess, if people don't know. So this is ST3, isn't
Yeah,
it?
ST3.
ST3, and you've pretty much got, well, other than, oh yeah, 3-door.
Everything that was available with this car, I got. They got rid of the sunroof. The sunroof was never an option with these cars at a point. I don't know. I'm guessing they were just planning on, when they were planning on axing the car, they only had a certain amount of sunroofs they could put on a car, and as soon as that went away,
I don't know about you. I always thought it was weird that they actually put a sunroof in a Fiesta in the first place. I know.
I guess so. I love the black headlining,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, but from an outside point of view, I like the headlining.
Yeah.
From an outside point of view, I like the sunroof, because
Yeah.
obviously they had the black tinted glass
Against
going along
the
it,
paint.
and against the paintwork that looked quite good. So I don't know. It's pros and cons of it.
Give and take, isn't it? Because you then, obviously, with your car in sort of like mean green, it's quite nice to have the full roof in green, actually, in some ways, because you're kind of showing that off.
Yeah,
even more.
I guess so.
I
guess so.
And obviously the whole 3-door thing. So I mean, when we met last time, I was genuinely thinking, oh, this is like, there's going to be no more of this car. You literally do have the last of what I feel is one of the best hot hatches.
It's just the way that Ford worked, isn't it? Because so when the car first came out, it was like, right, they've made this new car. There's not many of them coming through the pipeline. I had to wait a year for it. So obviously that happened, and then 2-3 months of me owning it, all of a sudden they turn around and say we're not producing them anymore.
It's like
but obviously I think when they say they're not producing them anymore, there's a planned date where they're going to stop. I think that's March next year.
Okay.
They've just announced that it will stop in March next year, so they're still building them, but I think I feel like the quality of the car is going to be terrible, because they're just using up the rest of the parts.
Oh, just like parts bins.
Yeah, like, I don't know, just like silly things. I'm sure Ford have done it before, where they've said, right, we're axing this car, but then what's happened is that the quality of the car has been so terrible because they're just using up the parts, and they don't want to produce more parts.
It wouldn't surprise me, actually, because there's already, I don't know if it's the same on yours in terms of like the one touch on the window. I don't know if
they got rid of that.
Yeah, they got rid of that.
We don't have one touch on this, unfortunately.
Just like that's what I mean, like little things that they're taking off which should be here, really. And it's just like, it felt like they have got trapped in, it's EVs basically. They're focused on that for whatever reason with the legislation. And yeah, I think you're right. I think probably future ones, they're certainly not going to be any different. I mean, I was quite hoping for like an ST edition for the facelift, for the 8.5, because I drove Mark 8 Performance Edition, the blue one, and that was so good. But obviously to have a bit of the facelift kind of stuff and the seats as well, which I still love, man. I still think they're pretty much almost virtually buckets, aren't they?
Oh, 100%, yeah. I mean, they're probably one of the most comfortable bucket seats I think I've ever been in my life. The Recaro's pinched you on your hips, but with these, they're just better. In my opinion, they don't hug you as much.
I think they are,
but they don't compromise when you're going around corners either. So I think it's really good.
And I do think, because I spent a bit of time as well in the Mark 4.5 Focus ST, it's been sort of busy last couple of months, and I think I'm pretty confident these are virtually the exact same seats. And I loved them in
Apart from,
is it like,
I don't know, I can't remember the senior video, but I think they're electronically controlled.
Okay.
And there was a description with these saying these were electronically controlled, but they're not. They're all handle adjusted. The only thing that's electronic is the bolster control.
Right, okay.
But the rest of it's all manual adjustment. But that doesn't bother me too much. I mean, electric seats are heavy and there's more chance of them going wrong.
It adds up, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. So I suppose over the 6,000 miles, have you had like any issues, like any sort of glitch? Because again, a lot of people talk about like the infotainment. I don't know how you found that in terms of if it's been slow or glitchy, or has that been okay?
So from my experience at work, the infotainment systems start to run really badly around about 3 years into it.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
but I think it's where the sync system, the sync module begins to slow down, and sometimes what we'll do at work is we'll just do a sync software update, and usually that fixes it. But sometimes it's sync module replacement and all these other things. No, I haven't had any issues.
It's been okay.
I haven't had any issues with it. The only thing that I would say I've had is I've had a message come up on the dash very momentarily about something to do with the headlamp alignment. Obviously, they're the electric ones that the matrix LEDs that change their direction and stuff like that. And when you check the codes that are in the car for the headlamp alignment, it will come up saying, I think it's the way that it adjusts. There's an issue with it. I can't remember the exact term. But a guy from my work has a Focus ST with the matrix LEDs as well. And basically, he got his lamp changed for the same problem I've got.
Okay.
But I haven't had this message come up since.
Okay.
So it's just something to look out for. It's like the way that, so basically when the lights change
like
direction, so with the self-leveling stuff, yeah, one will be slower than the other, and because the car can see that one's slower than the other one, it tries to see whether it can fix it. If it can't, it will throw the code. But then the code literally came on like that and then went.
Okay, that at least that's good.
And another problem they had was with these engines. So the way that the engine is designed is you've got the cylinder head, the block, and the section below the block, and then the sump pan, the oil sump, and basically then the front cover will come and cover all of these apart from the sump. And basically what was happening was that the oil was leaking out past between the cylinder head and the engine block, but it was leaking out through the front cover and then dripping down. And you could visually see it when you were doing a service or checking over the car that it was dripping down the front of the engine. They fixed the problem, but it's something to look out for.
It's another thing to...
It's like I don't know, it's not a recall. We call them TSBs, like tabloid service bulletins. Basically, any issues that people fault find with cars, or any constantly reported issues, they will either bring out a recall for them or do a TSB. And we've had a couple of them where basically you have to take the front cover off, reseal it with black sealer, and put the front cover back on.
Right, so you'd want that to be done under warranty, really, if something like
that usually if the car's going to go wrong, it'll go wrong within the warranty date.
That's
usually
because that's the thing, because these 1.5s I've heard actually reasonably good things in terms of
I mean,
it seems to run okay, and compared to like I didn't hear the best things about, say, like the Focus RS when the 2.3. I heard a few problems about that going forward.
They had a recall.
A few issues on that one.
Cylinder contamination or something to do with the coolant. The head gasket would go.
It was basically like an engine replacement virtually, wasn't it? It was ridiculous, which was such a shame because, again, another great car. But yeah, I guess for a lot of people who, if you can get into this car, because I still know that we've still got issues getting cars out, isn't it? It's not like it's easily accessible with chip shortages, everything that's going on in the world. I mean, we're heading towards December 2022 now, which sounds a bit crazy. And if they're only going to really be producing this car till the beginning of next year,
I think I've heard things through work saying that March time they'll stop production completely once they've basically run out of parts to actually use for the cars, like bodies and chassis and stuff like that. Exactly. Once they run out of parts, they'll stop. So if anyone wants a Fiesta ST, get in there quickly.
You really,
I wouldn't hold out hope that you get it.
But the thing is, you can't hang around really. Particularly if you want one new, you've got to go for it. And for me, I've driven a lot of cars, and I've been really fortunate over the years. And my main love of cars came from the Fiesta ST, and even today, like whenever I've driven like this version or whatever, it is the best in terms of like pound for fun, for everything, for the community.
100%.
It is literally the best.
And I think it's one of the best all-rounders.
And it's going. Like, I can't, genuinely, it's like, it's a really sad day for petrol heads, because it's not, I just don't know what they're going to do. Particularly, driving around an electric car. I really do notice that, and funny enough, my friend also got an electric car, so I tested them at the same time. There's no difference in the character, if that makes sense. Whereas whenever I drove something like this compared to like an Hyundai i20N or something like that, there was always at least a difference.
Yeah.
Whereas when we go forward with electric, I just feel it's like you get that really blinding acceleration for 30 miles an hour, but I don't. How are like
off.
Ford gonna make it unique? Because Ford have always been, you know, for me, it's the way they drive. I think,
driving and handling.
They're the best.
Yeah, 100%.
I just genuinely felt like we were going in a way where petrol cars were becoming more efficient and becoming more, you know, I have no doubt if you really wanted to like almost hypermile this car, I reckon you could get like 60 miles per gallon. I reckon if you were in top gear and you were cruising on the motorway, I reckon you could get crazy economy.
100%.
Because
it shuts down the cylinder.
Shuts down the cylinder, 1.5, 3 cylinder, and yet when you want to have fun, you can have fun, and that's like the perfect balance.
100%.
They don't weigh as much. It's like, yeah, the decision to kind of move it away, and you know, I mean, I'm gutted because I don't know what is gonna come forward for people watching who are genuinely really love their hot hatches and they click on videos to see something about Fiesta ST. You're not gonna get that anymore. I'm pretty sure they're not gonna do like a special edition of this. I mean, do you think maybe they might put something in?
No, I don't think so. I think they made their special editions last time out with the Mark 8s.
Yeah.
Whether they do is still to be seen. They might do simply like for a last hurrah of the best ST.
Something.
In my opinion, and I think most people's opinion, this is probably the best one. No, I don't know. I wouldn't ever. I don't think I'd ever buy it because it's going to be like a ridiculous amount. It's still expensive for a hot hatch.
It'll probably be minimum. It will be tipping into like a mid-30s even.
Yeah.
And that's getting into.
Well, to be fair to you, they did make the track edition of the Focus. I don't know if you...
I've done a few little bits on that.
Yeah.
Just to talk about it. That's like that's super cool because it's like bigger brakes. It's actually stuff
got the Brembo brakes. Yeah, I saw that.
Really proper. And I think it's got like different suspension as well. I think as well.
Probably the coilovers, KW coilovers.
Because it loses the adaptive and it's just got the fixed rate, but obviously the adjustable.
Just the dampers. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's again, I love how Ford think about stuff which is actually makes a difference.
Yeah,
and that is cool.
I saw part of the video. I mean, in your opinion, was it worth it? Like buying the car because it's meant for a track, obviously.
Yeah, because it's £3,000, I think it is for the track pack.
Really?
Yeah, on top. So it's not cheap. And when I've driven, because I've met up with a guy a couple of times in his one, and I love the suspension. Like on the road,
the adaptive
it's
suspension.
really good. And I've driven the performance edition, the blue one. It is firmer, particularly obviously if you have it in a firmer setting. So it's less of a daily, but then if you were to do it on track, like it kind of says it in its name, doesn't it? If you wanted that car where you do obviously use it on the road, but if you wanted to be like, oh right, on the weekend,
take it for a track,
take it for a blast, I reckon it'd be amazing. Because the brakes as standard felt really good on the Focus. So yeah, to have it
Can't imagine what the Brembos will be like. I mean, they're 6-pot, aren't they? I think
they're really. It's like surprisingly big. It's almost overkill. Like it feels like that. And I've always felt in the Fiesta they missed a trick on that. I would have loved can you imagine like a big brake kit as an option?
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, this car, people love it. People want to do things to it and mod it. And there will be companies out there that will like
change the brakes, discs.
Yeah, but there'll be a company that produce there'll be a company out there that produce. I'm sure there is somewhere. I'm sure I had a Fiesta in a work. Fiesta ST that had EBC brakes on it, and they do a big brake kit, and they're 4 pots, so 2 either side, with high performance discs and pads. I believe you have braided lines on it as well, and I believe a higher dot rating of brake fluid, so it doesn't evaporate.
That would be amazing, particularly on such a lightweight car. Because when I had my Fiesta ST200, and that had slightly different brakes and better pads in it as well, and braided lines, and I so noticed the difference, and I was like, literally, that was probably one of the best mods I think you can do. Particularly, well, regardless if you take it on track or not. I think I don't think the brakes on this are bad, but they're not exactly.
I don't think they're up to scratch at all.
Okay.
I personally what will happen is that they're powerful enough, but they don't last. They will go into this heat phase where the pads glaze over and you have no real braking because the pads have got so hot. And my plan with it is that if I am to ever get a remap
Oh, cool.
I'm going to get a set of fast road pads and discs.
Oh, that would be really good.
I'm never going to use it on the track, I don't think. I mean, this is my daily driver.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wreck your daily driver,
yeah, exactly.
on Sunday you're fucked on Monday.
Yeah.
So
you've got to think properly.
So
but on the road, I think that would be great.
Yeah, 100%. My plan is with it is that I sort of want to do my own thing with it. So you know the edition.
Yes.
Bright blue, black
It
accents.
looks so good, like the gloss black stuff.
I want to take it to a wrap company.
cool.
I want them to wrap the roof gloss black.
Okay.
I want them to wrap the front fog, well, what would be fog lamp surrounds on this.
Ah, I've got
so
you.
the matte colour on this, the matte grey, wrap them gloss black on the grille,
The last
gloss black on the rear diffuser.
I think that's a really good idea because the last guy did that with little bits that were plastic.
Yeah.
I think it's a no-brainer.
And if you put in a reg of a performance edition, or the edition, sorry, in at work, you can buy the wheels.
Oh,
You
cool.
can buy the gloss black wheels.
Those are freaking awesome, and they're lightweight.
Lightweight,
as well.
yep. So if I were to do all that, I'd buy the wheels. I could fit them at work.
That would look.
Put them
so
on,
good.
and I just think gloss black on most cars looks good. Imagine this in the green, but that's like the track day edition. They come out with.
Oh yeah, I think they do.
They come
I
out
think
with gloss black
I think
wheels?
it's different wheels. I think either they've. It's definitely lightweight. It's wheels, brakes, and I don't think it's anything
Suspension.
else. And the suspension. I think that, which again is really massively key parts that make a difference.
That's my plan.
But that would look amazing because I know I know a lot of people with Mark 7s, they put ST200 wheels sometimes on theirs, and I think those performance editions, I think those wheels just they do look great.
They look amazing. I love the 10 spokes.
Yeah, and you've got options to do that. And a lot of people will do little tweaks on their cars to make it as personal as they can, and that's what again a lot of people are loved about the Fiesta, because it's like Ford saved their money to get it obviously as a lower price as they can.
Yeah, definitely.
You can then put your money into doing whatever you need to do.
Yeah,
Although saying that, I have to say I love the ST3 touches.
The little touches that they did from the Mark 8 to the Mark 8.5, I think, were well needed and very good.
So because you got like the seats. Is the wheel different? The wheel
seats, steering wheel's the same, apart from the fact you've got the sport button here and the mode button, which I love,
which is handy.
I don't like. I've sat in a Focus, and what I don't like about it is everything's on the touchscreen. Okay. I prefer the buttons. I prefer having buttons to touch.
And that is a huge touchscreen. That was like literally.
That's a Sync 4 system that they've got on there.
That was massive going through that. On the move, I just don't know how they, like you say, you just want to press your button and you want to go. Or,
I don't want to have to try and work out what touchscreen or where to go on the touchscreen while driving, while the car's going like that.
Moving around, it's just impossible.
Yeah, if you've got everything on the steering wheel, you can just press the buttons and you can hold it. And the sport button's amazing. I mean, it's just the way that you could go from normal, and then all of a sudden there's a little stretch of open road. You're doing 30, it goes to 60. You press the sport button, and then
you're
off to speed.
And you get more like pops and bangs.
And then you get to 60 and like, right, normal.
Well, that's the thing. And then you cruise out, because you're not going to be driving down that like on the motorway all the time with pops and bangs. But when you want to have fun, and it's getting harder and harder to find those moments with, well, more cars and just like difficulties to just find nice roads. Yeah, you want to be able to take advantage of it. And this is a car to kind of do it. Like, I can talk about so many things that we're all probably going to miss, because like manual gearbox, I mean,
well, with every single electric, that's gone.
Yeah, it's like manual, this like last manual, 3 doors. Most electric cars, most cars are now 5 doors. You know, a petrol powered car with at least a combustion engine.
Yeah,
and it sounds, it's just a smile factor.
It's brilliant.
I'm gutted that it's going, but I'm glad because you've done some decent miles on this and you know your stuff so much, which I'm so grateful for you to be on the channel and kind of share it. I'd still say one of my big highlights is probably the seats, just because it's like, that's where you sit. That is like one of the so crucial parts in it. Like, for example, in that car, the seats aren't so good. Like, I will fall out in a second on turning. Yeah. But this is like, it's like a glove. You're like sitting like that, and because the car can handle, like, it's on rails and you can have a good time, you just feel so connected to it. And yeah, there's if anyone is even thinking about getting one of these cars,
before they go
get it, because trust me, from my view, there isn't going to be anything else out there. that Ford aren't going to suddenly turn around and say there's a Mark 9 coming out. There's no, it's literally
it's electric and that's it.
It's not going to happen. We've hit our last kind of one, and they work. You know, because they've built so many Fiesta STs, the Mark 8 since what, the 2007, late 2017, 18, that kind of time when it first came out.
What, this car?
Yeah, just
2018.
And then the 8.5 was sort of like in the last year. Well, we haven't really even seen any this year, really.
When I found out with my car that it was going from the Mark 8 to the Mark 8.5, that was, they announced it I think about November time, and then the showroom called me up and told me that in December that the car was being transferred over from Mark 8 to a Mark 8.5. And so it's about that time. It's only been out a year. Yeah,
it's only, and that's the problem as well, isn't it? Because it's only been out a year, but also because we've had so many issues with production and getting the cars out there's not that many cars out there. So when this car does cancel, even though it's been a year and a half, there's far less cars out there. Like, I mean, I'm trying to think how many 8.5s I've actually seen outside of actually the ones that I've filmed on YouTube and stuff.
What, on the ST?
An actual ST 8.5.
There's quite a few, in Essex there is quite a few Mark 8s, Mark 8.5s. There's a very few amount of STs. The ones I've seen are red, white, and I've seen a couple of green ones, but they've all been 5 doors.
Oh, okay, and that's the thing, that the whole 3 door, which...
And on Instagram there's only 1 3 door that I've seen as well. Like everywhere else, nothing.
So like, if you're like looking in like 5 years time and you're like, oh yeah, I'd really like to get into a hot hatch, you know, I watched Sam's video 5 years ago, and it was, it'd be so hard to find one, because I reckon there will be someone out there who will buy this car and literally just not drive it. I reckon they'll like garage them up.
Yeah, me.
Yeah, like
I am going to garage. Once it's all paid off, I'm a HP at the moment.
Yep.
Once it's all paid off, I'm keeping it for a couple of years. I mean, this car, like driving it over 5,000 miles, it's almost 6,000 miles. It's just been brilliant. It's a great all-rounder. You can take it on motorway journeys and it's fine. Down bumpy roads, it's all right. I mean, it's not like it dampens really well. The suspension's obviously stiff because it's a sports car, but the dampening on it is really, really good. And
I do feel, even though it's sort of quoted at a sort of similar power to the last model, the Mark 7 car, this feels like a lot more punchier with this engine.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit more powerful. Obviously the ST there had overboost at 200, but for only 15 seconds and above third gear.
So it's 180
but
most of the
this
time.
Particular car, I mean, 200 horsepower all the time and a ridiculous amount of torque. It obviously went from 290 Newton meters to 320.
Yeah. That is a huge difference, and it does.
You feel it as well. I mean, in second gear in the wet, but that's the one of the problems I have with this car. The tyres, obviously the Pirelli Sports, they're brilliant in the dry, but they are very soft compound, and I don't know the way how they design the tyres, but in the wet, usually, unless you start aquaplaning, the tyre should still give off the same amount of grip in the wet that it does in the dry. But it don't. It really does. Just sort of like the front end will drift off a little bit, even with the limited slip diff. But maybe that's just simply because of the fact that the way that the car works and the tyres as well. Maybe. I think you're probably right. I think that's one of the things when it gets cold and when it gets damped. Yes, this car's going to struggle. But I mean, if you really want to, you can probably put on a less summer hardcore tyre, and it'd probably change the car around in colder weather if you really want to. Maybe, I don't know.
It's a tough one, because you want to, like, I always find like when you kind of like lose grip and you find stuff, you learn so much about the car.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that kind of level. And yes, you can't flatten your foot in this car and fly away, even like today. Like, yeah, it's cold, it's wet, you're going to get wheel spin if you do stuff like that. But that's 100%. Part of the whole driving.
Yeah, you have to take it easy, especially in sport as well, because obviously the throttle response is so quick.
Yes,
it spools the turbo up very quickly, and you've just got to be very careful with the tyres when you're in the wet. But saying that as well, I have done one mod. I've got torque mount.
Oh, okay, yes.
So it's obviously not visible. I live near Mounttune's HQ in Essex, so I was able to go and pick it up on Friday lunchtime and fit it after work on Friday. This thing is massive. Honestly, it's poly bushing, so it's just so stiff, and this thing is just like the normal I can't explain it. The normal torque mount, like the section that they replace, is probably about, I don't know, that big, something like that.
Right.
But then the poly bushing is like that. It's massive. And you fit it on. First thing I noticed, the car, it's a lot of vibration in it, especially if you have the AC on.
Okay.
But that's obviously, that's the con of it, because it doesn't dampen the engine movement. The pros of it is that when you're in the wet or you're wheel spinning, the car doesn't wheel hop.
Yes, yeah.
It will just, in second gear in the wet, it will just wheel spin. And it's a lovely feeling.
It does. So I'm pretty confident it was like fixed torque mounts, fixed engine mounts on the my ST200. And although yes, you do get a lot more noise, vibration, harshness kind of thing from the cabin, I 100% pick up. And the way the car drove, it was just night and day. And I'm sure if there was like a little mod that made the difference, I reckon it was that. You take the compromise of a little bit more vibration.
And I'm not going to lie to you, it's not that bad. So say for instance, I'll put the AC on now.
Let's see.
I mean, that's what it feels like. You feel it through the seat, and a couple of plastic bits obviously vibrate. But as soon as you turn the AC off, it's fine. But that just proves how much of a strain the AC system has on an engine.
Right, yeah, that's interesting actually. And I suppose again, it's something that you can take off. It's obviously an optional mod that you kind of put on.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So like, yeah, it's not too bad.
But saying that as well, you just reminded me, that's another thing that you have to sort of look out for. The torque mounts on the ST, you do find the black bushing they've got on there, and the way they design it rips.
Really?
Yeah, so you've just got to be really careful. That's why I've replaced it so quickly, because I know for a fact that
it might go.
The way it's designed will go. Whether that's through maybe you're not working out how harsh the engine is and the way it shakes around. I don't know, but yeah, replacing it is probably one of the better things I've done.
yeah, definitely. And you've done a few little things. You've like blacked out some of the Ford badges, and you've got sort of like the ST kind of black decals.
There's a couple things I just wanted to change on it, honestly.
And that's what I love, because it's like you make it a little bit personal, and even like the small little touches make such a huge difference
100%,
when you kind of go up to it.
100%. I think the best one I did was definitely if I could do without, well, saying that actually, the one thing that I like is the Ford badges, because I don't like the blue against the green and the red. If you have black Ford badges, I think it looks a hell of a lot better. And the front splitter, they've got Ford Performance engraved in it, yet you can't physically see it until you walk up to it. So having the white and the red match the stitching here.
And that I'll put that on screen as well, because that did look cool. And that's again stuff that it just looks like OEM. It looks exactly like it should have come.
You wouldn't know any different,
because I mean they're using the branding everywhere.
You wouldn't know any different. That's what I like about the things that I've done, to be honest with you.
I love these seats.
My aim as well when I first bought it was I wanted to sort of like do a little, I don't know how to explain it, like a Fiesta RS. I feel like it deserves it. So a little bit more power. You look at the old RS, it's the Mark II. Obviously they did it in the green. So I'm just taking things from that, just thinking, could I do this, could I not? My plan is lower it, airbox, Miltech exhaust with the dual tip. So instead of the twin tip here, dual tip either side like the RS, and the diffuser, that would be, and an engine tune.
That would be so good. And again, I drove a Mark 8 with I think it had 230 horsepower, and they can take it. They're great.
Mountune one.
Yeah, Mountune one, and that flew.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, that's the great thing about these cars, because there's so many companies who do mod them, and it's like, yeah, you can feel safe in kind of doing it. And that's got me thinking, actually, I never did a Fiesta RS. I can't believe it. They didn't do one.
They should have.
They really, I mean, they really almost like, because I'm sure there was like a delay even on the ST before the Mark 7. They had like a gap for a little bit until 2013. And I was just like, it's just like a no-brainer, particularly for people in the UK who like love these kind of cars and brands. So I'm massively intrigued. I mean, I've just no idea where we're gonna go now. For so many people who just love to get these cars, love to do a few tweaks, or just love to keep the stock, do whatever you want with.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying this is a cheap car, because it's not. It's still pretty expensive for a Ford Fiesta. But this is about as good a price as you can get anything at the moment. For something that you could, if for someone that enjoys driving, 100%.
I think it's one of the cheapest hot hatches on the market, and in my opinion, it's one of the better ones as well. Apart from I think the Hyundai
I do like
i20N.
i20N, so I've driven that.
I think they're really good.
But I imagine they're all going to go one way, aren't they? They're all eventually going to stop making them, aren't they? You would think. I don't know if what Hyundai's
honestly, I think they should try and invest time in trying to make more sustainable fuel rather than, because what people are going to do when they can't afford an electric car, they have to stick with the old petrol car, and that doesn't solve the problem. And it also doesn't solve the problem where we can't get electricity, or the electricity is through burning like nuclear
fossil fuels,
nuclear fuels. Yeah,
I think it definitely has not been thought through. And I mean, watch this space. I think we've got a lot of things that will probably happen between now and when we have to make the switch over, because ultimately the people, we make the decisions. If we don't buy these cars, or people just can't afford them, it's just not going to work. And like you say, other countries, other regions are still going to make these kind of cars, so perhaps the UK would have a U-turn. But it sounds like if they haven't already been, Ford have already been. I just always got the impression that they were pushing away from the performance stuff. So whenever I saw a Focus SD or a Fiesta SD or anything, I was like, this is literally going to be it. And I was lucky enough to jump on it from people like you, getting information, or just from other subscribers. But I think that's kind of it. Without kind of, other than like meeting up with you guys again and kind of sharing it, I don't think there's going to be like, oh, this new thing. So I think, get it. I mean, you can. We'll be honest, we've been sort of like positives and negatives of this kind of car, 6,000 miles. It's just go for it. It's like, genuinely, I mean, if you're into your cars, you would massively regret it. If you're thinking of like, oh, I'll just wait a couple of years or something like that. If you wait a couple of years, the car isn't going to lose that much money.
You have to find a used car.
You'd have to get a used car. Again, sometimes maybe the touches that owner's done, it might not suit your taste. Price wise, I just can't see these cars falling through the floor, because it's like you can't get one. It's not like you could go to your Ford dealer.
As soon as they stop production, the prices of these will probably go through the roof, because like, people will want them. You want as a modern last generation of its kind, you're going to want to go for this. And super sad. I mean, I know we've been talking for a long time. I'll stick it. 40 minutes.
I'll stick it all in. But summary, ownership review. It's been good for you. You've enjoyed the car.
100%.
I guess, it's. I mean, we spoke before, and you were sort of like, I would love to try and keep this car for as long as you can, if not or forever. It's like, I genuinely think that's, at the moment, that's the only realistic option. And we're just. And I can speak firsthand with an electric car I've been driving. We're not there for the masses at the moment. Whereas a little Ford Fiesta, best-selling car in the UK for so long,
until a couple of years ago,
and then they've suddenly, it's just like, we're not making it anymore. What are all these people going to do?
But when I go back out the back of work, where all the PDI cars are, they get delivered from Dagenham. Obviously they go from Belgium to Dagenham, get delivered from Dagenham to wherever they need to go dealership wise. They come to my work. You look out the back, there's no Fiestas out there. It's all Pumas and Cougars. That's why everyone wants an SUV nowadays, and there's a few people that don't want hatchbacks.
I did actually see a mean green Puma ST.
I mean, they look good.
They look good, and to be fair, it's the same chassis, it's just taller. It's not quite the same.
No,
it's probably as good as you're gonna get. I think if you I mean, but again, how long are they gonna last that with a petrol engine? It's inevitable where these are all gonna go now. Which is super sad.